I call the meeting to order. Do we have a quorum? We do.
Yes, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum this morning.
All right. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Marilyn Massey and I'm the chair of the committee. And I'd like to have everyone introduce themselves. I think we know who this man is, but he can tell us.
And thank you. For the record, this is the Area Agency on Aging Regional Advisory Council meeting for June 22nd. We are in Cripple Creek, Colorado today. I've been hosted by one of our providers, community hearing. Thank you very much for hosting us today. And I am Jody Barker, Director of the Area Agency on Aging.
I'm Maria Cordova. I work for the Independence Center. I do community outreach and I represent Tyler Park in El Paso County.
Bill Bowles from Park County. Jim Woodard from Teller County.
And Madam Chair, I'm happy to go through those who are online if that makes it easier.
Yes.
Okay, so for those members who are online, I will just start on the alphabetical order I have here. Eric Bidwell.
Morning, Eric Bidwell with the El Paso County Department of Human Services.
Thank you. Dr. Babbitt.
B. Babbitt, Northern El Paso County.
Thank you. Laura Cronick.
Is there others?
There are others. I know Councilmember Cronick was having some technical problems during the Commission on Aging yesterday, but we do have Laura Cronick from Monument on. Jen Nemo.
Jen Nemo, Colorado Community Health Alliance for Medicaid Region 7, El Paso, Park, and Teller County.
Thank you. And Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary Hadamio with the Alzheimer's Association.
And Madam Chair, I believe that's everyone who is online who are members of the RAC. We do have additional ones, but those are the voting members.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to go to agenda approval. Do I have a motion for approving the agenda?
Second.
Thank you. The agenda is approved. We would like to have you vote on it. All those in favor,
Aye.
say aye. And any opposed? Thank you. Now we're going to approve the minutes from our last meeting, so I said before my phone rang, and that's why I made sure I had it turned off again. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. You feel helpful. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carried. Thank you.
Here at this time, I'm not aware of any public comments. In the item number 4. Mayor, have you received any requests for public comment?
Mr. Barker and Madam Chair, we have not received any advance requests for public comment. I will ask for anyone who is online. If you'd like to make a public comment, please use the raise hand function in Microsoft Teams. I'll give that just a few moments to see if anyone raises their hand. But seeing none, I believe we can continue.
Actually, Jared, Jason DeBueno from Silver Key has his hand raised.
All righty. Thank you. Sorry about that, Jason.
That's all right. Thank you. And I did send this forward. I did send a request for public comment before the meeting. Sorry you didn't get that. I just wanted to remind everybody of the Silver Key Summit, July 11th, 8:30 to 3:30 at the Antlers Hotel. You're all invited, and any of the customers that you have in your service areas are certainly welcome as well. We'll be providing food for continental breakfast, and throughout the day, we have some light snacks. We have over 60 vendors attending, and the information I think is going to be great for all the community, particularly here in El Paso County, but certainly parts of Tyler and the service providers in both those areas will be represented at the Silver Key Summit. Thank you.
Thank you. We have any action items? Okay, we're going to have a presentation from the community affairs, but in just a moment. Rosemary, do you have any information on the membership committee?
We do not have any updates for the membership committee.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's do the presentations.
Everybody doing today? Good, good, awesome. So, also, please ask my your Southeast Bend. Can you hear me? That works for me. You guys can hear me? Great.
Yes.
Welcome to the Aspen Mine Center Community of Caring Foundation. We're going to do a short presentation about the senior advocacy program here that we do for all of our senior clients here in Teller County. So the first slide here, we're just going to kind of introduce ourselves. My name is Stephanie Egan. I am the Senior Advocacy Manager here at the Aspen Mine Center. And I am Nancy Hartsfield, Senior Advocacy Specialist. And making that to be specific.
I'm Lisa Cannon. I am the reassurance caller. I'm with the Home Picker program, and I am a senior case worker.
So yeah, we're doing a little dance, so please forgive us. Our foundation principles: building trusting relationships with our clients, collaboration and integration of resources and services, and implementation of proven models and best practice. Next slide. So we work with the PPACG, and the mission of the PPACOG is assist older adults and to remain in their home and removing barriers to independent living, and to assist the coordination development of a comprehensive system of services for our seniors. We have many programs available, including senior case management, reassurance college program, homemaker program, and of course, the aging mastery program. Next slide. All righty. So our senior advocacy case management, we maintain independence. We increase opportunities for our seniors. We assess needs, develop plans of care, coordinate and arrange services. We identify and orchestrate resources, connectivity to maximize independence to seniors. And we also want to say a big thank you to all of our partner programs, which helps us to provide more resources and also those referrals. Since inception in 2011, we have served over 1,600 unduplicated seniors. In 2022, we served 236 unduplicated seniors From those 236 seniors, we had 4,904 visits from those clients with a total of 3,230 hours that we spent helping them. This year, we have 164 unduplicated seniors so far for 2023 with a total of 1,494 visits from those clients and a total of 1,348 hours. We have changed the way we do things a little bit here in this last year. We really worked with our clients to work on what we call a client action plan. That helps them know what the things that we need to work on to increase their independence. And those action plans are showing that it is working, what we do, the steps that we take to help our seniors to increase their independence for here in Tellerton.
One of the programs that we have is called the Reassurance Caller Program. During this program, we have Lisa, who is a reassurance caller. She is here. We try to develop a lot of relationships. We look at socialization of those seniors and how we can develop that with them. We look for red flags. Red flags are very, very important when we're talking about seniors that may be isolated from the rest of the community. And of course, once we recognize those red flags, we act on them through referral sources. Next slide. The Reassurance Caller Program, in the fiscal year of 2022, we served 65 unduplicated clients for a total of 3,818 contacts. This year, we served 57 unduplicated clients, for a fiscal year of 2023. And of course, the total contact hours or contacts were 1,202, I do want to say though, just as Stephanie mentioned earlier, we are right in the middle of our fiscal year, so we still have a long way to go. And just as Stephanie mentioned, working with action plans, we are able to reduce some of those contacts. Slide, please.
So we're going to go right into the Homemaker program, which is a self-directed voucher program. It helps to fill in gaps for the senior population and their needs. And most of that gears around general household activities. There is no skilled care with the Homemaker program. It is really there to help our seniors take out that trash, maybe wash those bed sheets and keep their homes clean and reaching those places that people just can't get to, keeping our seniors from having to climb ladders, if it's just changing a light bulb or, just helping them increase their independence and staying at home and aging in place. For our Homemaker program, in 2022, we served 29 unduplicated clients for a total of 1,219 hours. So far this year, we have 19 unduplicated clients that we're working with a total of 134 hours.
This is something very near and dear to my heart, whoever he may be, the Aging Mastery Program. The Aging Mastery Program is a program designed to help seniors as they age. Many of our topics include gratitude, exercise and use, sleep, financial fitness, healthy eating and hydration, among many other topics that we discuss. I did bring an example of the bag that all of our clients do receive, and if you don't mind passing that around, please dig through it. It's a lot of fun. Everything is geared towards whatever that topic may include. So if we're looking at sleep, for example, I brought Stephanie, who I just hit in the head, I brought a sleeping mask. If we're looking at medications, we brought a medication plan. We, of course, we brought the 2023 senior information guide. We brought water because hydration is such a big and integral part of our elder population. We all forget to drink. We brought there's a little notebook in there. So when you go to your physician's office, you can write down any question that you may have. This is not a program that I teach. It is a program that is facilitated by me. So all participants must join in on this group. So I'm not up there just saying, this is what you do. I'm asking them, what would you do? Therefore, they bring it back to me and we discuss it. The class becomes a small community within our larger community. I want to give you a great example of that. They all took each other's numbers and they are now a little hiking group. So a couple of them go hiking together. Another example would be some of them meet here at our Wednesday luncheons and they sit and they talk about it. Prevents so much isolation. It's amazing. I do want to say there is now an increased management or increased awareness of case management, and we are again able to give them other resources that are needed. Next slide. These are just a few of the comments. I'm proud to say this was my last class that we had here. Some of our past participant comments were to look at things differently. I love this. I'd like to take the class again. Who says that after a class? Nobody. Exercising more. My overall experience with Aging Mastery Program was very positive. I don't know if you saw the ball that she showed everybody, but that was part of the exercise program. And how do we get more strength with that? Medication awareness, very good program. We give them tools and we give them sites that they can look at and figure out if the medication is going to work well with another medication. We actually have community members, professional community members that come in and will help guide and again facilitate this class. And finally, it says, I will proceed with making all of my final wishes known now that I have the tools to do so. We work very closely with the 5 wishes. We pull that out. We show everyone this is really important, especially if you don't have a will. But the good news is we show them how to make a will, and we will do that. And I have to tell you, Stephanie was one of the facilitators that day, and she did an awesome job. And then I do have to say I'm a little proud of this. It says Nancy and all the guest speakers were knowledgeable, and we did have a lot of fun. Next slide. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I do not do any on Zoom yet. All of them were in person. I know I'm not quite sure about previous classes, but everything's been on person. A lot of our folks come here from Cripple Creek, Teller County area. I'm just thinking. Expressively sound fabulous to people who are in the homes. So. And I know if that subject was broached and it comes up again, we will be running another class in October, starting, I'm not quite sure, it's the first Wednesday of October for 5 weeks. So that is something that we certainly will discuss. Yes, good one. Thank you.
That was my question, and is how often do you do it? So
and please forgive me because I'm not quite sure of the actual data, but I will be doing another class in October and then again in the springtime. We'll be doing that 5-week class again. Okay.
And how do you determine how many in the class?
We're determined by for me, I would love to do larger classes. We had a very small class this time. But we can do anywhere from 10 to 25 if we needed to. But we are funded. I'm going to have Lisa speak to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and that's why I turned it over to her very quickly.
Well, that's a good sized group and it allows interaction with people and nobody can sit in the corner and keep their mouth shut.
Once you clean up, just make sure that those don't.
No, I each time we have a program, that group becomes like like communities, and they really continue to interact with each other. So that's what's one of the most important things.
I absolutely agree. In person is clearly better. How can we reach these people? May not be able to attend in person unless you can get them here, which you might not.
Yeah, no. Not yet. We may have a car.
How do they sign up for
But
this
we
class?
could get both, you know, we're really such a good partner. Maybe that's how.
How do they sign up to take the class?
A couple of ways they can find out. One of the ways, of course, is just by advertising with the flyers that we give out. We do have our own little Teller County, what do I want to call this? Like not the flyer, the newsletter. A newsletter. Mhm. Word of mouth.
That's the biggest.
Word
thing.
of mouth.
We refer within. So one of our biggest things goes into where, so whether it's management, like basis, it's called people groups. Or refer to more experience or refer. So that's probably the biggest. Almost last. It's it, but they do absolutely touches especially. Well, what is that called? I can't see. We have socialization, socialization. No. I'm good. But that's what we found, is that's one of the fastest things. It's maybe that
So when you refer to each other, you look at their individual lack, I guess I should say, if some of them you know are not doing social things, is that someone you would recommend for this program?
I would
Inter-
recommend any person over the age of 60 to take this class, not just because of the socialization. I have to tell you that one of the biggest pieces that I found that they really needed was end of life. They wanted to know about wills. They wanted to know about, it was huge. It was really a really good presentation that was given that day. They wanted to know, hey, what about the five, what are these 5 wishes? We want to know a little bit more about that. The other part really was medication. What do we do with all this medication? If you're on 20 medications, for example, what does that look like? What does that do to my body? My 3 areas that I really specify that this whole program will cover. Number 1 is what I call an acronym, SEN. So we're looking at sleep, exercise, and nutrition. Those 3 things all are integrated, once again, going back to the wellness well. They're all wellness, they're all integrated in that, and therefore now integrated and always have been into the aging mastery program.
That's right. So for clients, so Nancy has Mrs. Smith's mind. And she would say, you know, we have this great program. And this is what it does, she explains it, and then that's how we that program. Fill out paperwork, we can have everything's.
Well, I was just thinking that, because you have knowledge of these individuals, they might not volunteer themselves, and you just explained how you draw them. Thank you.
And this year, we actually picked up a client from down in Woodland Park when they did the, thank you, the senior advocacy fair that they had in Woodland Park. People came up to our table and I told them about it then. So they weren't even clients. They were people we didn't know. They were people from the community. And the more we talked about it and got them excited, the more excited they were. And as you can tell, I'm very excited about the program. I think it's just great. And as a senior, and I am at 63, I love the program because I learned about me. And it was amazing to me about the things I didn't know.
I would actually have it. Because I think some of it. I'm 96. Older, some of them. But. It's for them, yeah.
I noticed she says, yeah.
So I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie, and she's going to talk about our wellness wheel. Like I said, that's an integral part of aging master.
I just thought of one more question. When you're doing the legal part of this, and you're talking about wills, do you have one of the books that are put out, that are handed out to Law Week or?
Yeah, senior law.
Senior law books.
So we use several different things to help our seniors. There is, right off the top of my hand, there is the Bar Association does offer it's kind of like a let's get the conversation. It's a conversation starter toolkit. It gets that conversation starter. It gives them the questions that they should ask, the knowledge that they should have. Like when you do a will, you don't want to lock it in a safe. You want people to have access to it. So it brings those conversations. It brings that knowledge to those individual. And there is a website, and also the bar website is also a great place to get information.
My point was, if you don't have one, I'll see what you get.
Great. Fantastic. I love resources.
It also refers to Pikes. Colorado.
Yes. That's good. That's what it's all about, is referring to the correct.
We'll talk. Typically for senior law, they, I guess they get us. I don't know what that looks like, but we'll make sure that they're good to have on.
They're very thorough.
I just want to know if you want me at home. I have some questions about this management and telephone before you go. I mean, you can go on to the wellness group. It's a for case management, I was looking at these numbers. And so I was just wondering, do you have an average amount of time that somebody saves in your case management program, or can it be as long as you can continue, keep continuing? Or
So we do want to, and this is why we have our beautiful things that we have an action plan. This gives us the date we started that action, opportunities, needs, or goals that we need to meet with them, and then the action steps to take with that. So if they are needed to stay on our case management, of course they will stay. But we do want them to maintain that independence. We do want to give them the knowledge and the resources to be able to self-advocate for themselves as well. So if they need to stay, absolutely, we'll stay with them, but we do work with them to help them. And we do, if our services aren't needed, then they just need to let us know and we can remove them.
Approximate, how many visits a month? Does it supposed to be weekly? Is it bi-weekly, or is it fair?
It depends on the case.
I'm a previous case manager. so
And that's
why I'm
that's
asking all
completely,
this.
that's awesome that you asked that. If we feel, if the client feels that there is a need, of course, we want them to be comfortable. If they want to come in and see us for an hour every week because, man, we're having a struggle with our budget and we don't know what to do, and absolutely we can meet on a weekly basis. If it's a monthly basis, we'll meet with them on a monthly basis just to check in with them to see how they're doing. If sometimes it's a short period, sometimes it's just an individual needing help getting financial assistance for dentures, which we will help them do grant applications. We'll say like the Friends of Man, 80 Hunter. You know, if that's their only need, of course, we're going to help them with that need. And after that, we do a self-sufficiency matrix. And that self-sufficiency matrix tells us where they're at. And as we work with them, we can redo that matrix. And that matrix, the scores improve, which means their independence is improving as well. And so we will do another matrix. And if their score is high and we are no longer needed, though, we'll kind of work with them today.
They have to come in or do home visits?
So it varies. If it is somebody who is just not able to get out, we absolutely will go and do a home visit. We do encourage them, if they can, to come into the office. We like to see them in the office so that we can really get that work done that we need to do. We have the tools that we need in our offices to help them. If not, we'll take them with us, of course, to help them. But we also want to encourage them to get out of their home, keep from being isolated. This is a good thing. And if we can take little steps, even if it's meeting with us, they are coming out of the house. They are engaging in their community. Hey, let's meet on Wednesday. We have Wednesday lunch that day too. Join me for lunch. You know, that socialization. We want them, you know, to get out and about as much as possible.
Sometimes it's the stop down is building with them. Yeah. Yeah. So that's so.
And my last case management question is, if you're having a relationship with somebody that coming in for case management services, and you see that they have some other acute mental health issues, what kinds of referrals can you make?
So we talk to the client, of course. We want them to feel comfortable talking about specifically their mental health and encouraging them to talk about it. We partner with a lot of different agencies and we'll work with them to get an appointment because, of course, none of us are licensed clinicians, therapists, psychologists. So we do referrals. Currently, we've got 4 mental health providers at the Ask Your Mind Center. We have Willow Benz. We have Bright Future Psychiatry. We have Diversis, and we also have Dr. Pick. So we do have some resources. We talk to them about those options. We give them plenty of options. If they're uncomfortable with coming into the Aspen line to do some kind of mental health, then we definitely want to find them a place where they can either do telehealth and talk to somebody. We do offer 2 telehealth kiosks at the Aspen line as well. So even if they have a different provider, they're always more than welcome to come into our facilities
You can do
and use
you can
that.
do telehealth and Medicare.
So there's lots of options. It's based on their comfort level. So Medicare. So
the reason for this grant is because when a senior comes in and they're on Medicare, a lot of times Medicare says it's, and they're dual funded Medicare, Medicaid. Medicare says, hey, it's their problem. And Medicaid says, hey, it's their problem. And so it's really difficult. And so we have this little fund that we can familiar. Yeah. So, when I've got that. So we have this little fund that we can get them into. We have 2 different organizations that will that we can utilize.
It's one more important thing. If we have somebody who's in crisis, we do have a paramedic up here. We are partners with our community paramedics. And one of the, thank you, it's called the MHAP program. I think that's very important to them to note because we have utilized them. They have come to us, they'll come right to our office if there's somebody in our office at that time that is having an acute mental crisis. And that's much more better than putting them in, I'm a nurse by trade. It's much better than putting somebody in an ambulance and sending them off down when you can have somebody
If
talk.
there's even a bed there.
Absolutely. Yeah, got that.
know.
You're absolutely
Okay,
correct.
and now for telephone reassurance, how often are you calling your? Okay,
If we feel that like they need to be, have someone to talk to more than that, then we go in to, sometimes 2-3 times a week. I do have people that would rather see me in person than talking on the phone, so I will make myself available. Yes, ma'am, I will make myself available for them.
I'm going to share a little, when I worked at an area agency on aging in the state of Washington, one of the organizations we funded was the Catholic Charities Telephone Reassurance Program. It was huge. And not only did they have professionals or others, but they had some people who were home and couldn't get out talking to other people who were home and couldn't get out. And they developed a great relationship, and sometimes they would call each other 2-3 times a week and provide assurance. So I was wondering if you were doing that, and you're all shaking your head.
Yes, ma'am. We do.
That's the only way.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. So we also, not only do we have a reassurance caller program, Teller Senior Coalition also has one. And then through our local police department with one of our ladies, she does the friendly caller where they have to get up and they actually have to call her. Say, I'm awake, I'm not moving around. So, we're trying to hit them on all bases to make sure that, they get what they need because they're not.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I could ask you later, but one of your earlier slides talking about best practice, proven model. Clearly, you take a lot of data. So what does that best practices and proven model mean? How does that work?
but then we also have trainings every month. And we look at best practices, so there's program development. We have making sure that DHS comes in and does their trainings with us. Everybody that we refer to that's comes in, that's their best practices, so that we learn other people's best practices. So
That sounds really good. Do you use your own data somehow to modify it? And how do you do it?
we use it through that. So we just got this almost. We.
Data is hard.
So that, yeah. So it's huge. We use that matrix, self-sufficiency matrix. And it's from 1 to, well, now 19. We have 19 different things. Some of them are childcare, so some of them aren't applicable to seniors. But so if we see someone starting out as an 18, so they only have a 1 on each of those matrix pieces, like they're homeless, they don't have food, they don't have housing, they don't have health care, all of those things. They don't have the familial expectation. So all of these things, they don't have a job. They can't financially make it. And that's what's happening right now. People are not, Social Security has gone up a little bit, but food prices have gone up huge. And now we don't have so much. but seniors are really down. Really. But anyway, so we look at that self-sufficiency matrix, and when we first start, we do the baseline, and then when the action plan is done with the client, then we look at it again and redo it. And if it goes from 18 to 44, then that is that. So it's black, very black. Where we've had one last 44, which is that's something. Food, shelter. I think it's. Yeah, right. We see miracles. That's like it's a really high priority. But we've had this it's because of it.
Bring everybody back to the wellness wheel. We hold the wellness wheel actually really close to ourselves because it helps us when we're talking to our clients to figure out, besides the self-sufficiency matrix, it helps us figure out, do they need some spiritual in their life? Are they emotionally okay? Are they financially okay? Occupational sometimes doesn't apply to the seniors, but at the same time, do you have a hobby that you like to do that entertains yourself? For me, I'm going to say I need to work on physical. I need to make sure I'm hydrating during the day, so that me personally, when I look at the wellness, hey, get up, get a drink of water, work on that physical. So we take different aspects. Sometimes somebody might say, well, I really do need some spiritual, and then, we can give them resources to local, different things that they can be a part of to help with that, because it really encompasses everything in that will. And we all have this in our office, and we always refer to it because sometimes those visual aids helps us and helps our clients realize, wow, maybe I do need something. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. When it comes to these things, it has been really exciting to see. The constant picture. Everybody knows that we have to. You know, think of this famous. It's a really good for the. Yes, this is right.
Right. Well, I just wanted to comment that Teller County and our Park County Senior Coalition, which I'm a member of, have been very cooperative on things here lately, and especially southern part of county. Woodland Park is closer than Fairplay to me. So we just work together.
Absolutely.
There's synergy.
And that's part of my comment. I mean, clearly, the way in which you can serve people, we were talking about this earlier, is developing relationships with people. You can't get people to come in and trust you and use your services unless there's warmth and unless, you know, you share that with them. And that came through today in the presentation.
Thank you. And sometimes the hardest thing for our clients is to walk through that door. The second thing is to say, we might need some.
Do we have any rack numbers on it? Okay, well, thank you very much for the presentation. Again, we love the collaboration. Heard that multiple times. Both we love the collaboration with our other providers, which is really exciting. And to kind of round out my comment, you know, some of these programs that we heard about today came about during the time of COVID when there were needs and community sharing and how we determine, okay, we have an opportunity to. It's really exciting to see those. That is tough because unfortunately they just funding is gone and our base funding to reflect. See the two are. So, good job. All right. You're now a 6C.
Ben, are you online?
Yes, I'm
Jen,
online.
Yes, I'm online. There we go.
Sorry,
You have
it's
any-
been really hard to hear, so. I don't have any updates for S.
I don't have any updates for SR.
So just a side comment there, Madam Chair, the new four-year plan, which was accepted and voted in all levels through the Regional Advisory Council as well as the Pikes Board of Directors, was submitted well in advance of the deadline back in March. That is still at the State Union on Aging, state administrators. They're reviewing all of the plans on we do not have final approval on that yet, but at this point, we do anticipate some news by the end of June because it's supposed to be effective July 1. So we as soon as that does get approved and formally approved by the state union, we will. The strategic review session committee will be getting back together and dealing to work every day. Will be, I guess.
Are you finished with your report, Mr. Director?
That wasn't my report.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, the last bit of business, I am so appreciative to my staff and members of the RAC. Okay, we got it. We must have a dud. So, apologize for that. So, quiet time there. The last bit of business that we've been working on, and I'm so appreciative to our staff with the Area Agency on Aging in presenting at the last RAC meeting the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act funding recommendations from the TRS, that's the Technical Review Subcommittee of the RAC, and getting that passed. And then last week at the June PPACG board meeting, those ARPA funding recommendations were passed as well. A couple of things to note, because there was concern at the federal level around the debt ceiling and some of the unallocated emergency funding possibly being pulled back. We determined to allocate 100% of the funding availability, and we were able to accomplish that. We're very excited to be able to do that. So yay. And since that time, those were the implications at the time that the TRS and the RAC were working on this, and of course the staff. Since then, the federal government has finalized the debt ceiling plans and are not pulling back from the ARPA allocations. And so we will be able to retain 100% of the funding that was provided and that we have since allocated. Some of you may be familiar with some of the dates. We were aiming to have everything allocated and under contract by July 1. We feel that we will have that completed. Contracts went out to those applicants who were awarded funds yesterday. They are due back by middle of next week, but we're already starting to see those signatures come back in on contracts. And so I'm very appreciative of that. Ted, is yours in there? I've been tracking, but I haven't seen that. Okay, good. Yes, don't let that sit. So we're really excited about that. It was an opportunity to focus on the goal of the ARPA fund. We'll back up. The goal of the ARPA funds is really around infrastructure and capital growth. We do have opportunity on occasion with our base funding to provide reimbursements for capital items such as vehicles and office equipment, computers, that kind of thing. But some of the infrastructure really gets left behind to the older Americans Act. And we're really excited that we were able to accept these funds and go through a notice of funding availability process through the entire region. Of the 10 applicants that we had, 8 of those are current contracted providers and 2 are outside organizations. One we've never worked with before, and another is a regular community partner, So the distribution on that, or the allocations on that, vary everything from computers for IT upgrades and phone system upgrade, all the way to pickleball courts. And so we really are seeing an opportunity here, really when we think about the wellness wheel, what does that mean for the needs of a given community? Very excited that the community caring applied received more than a little bit more than what they asked. And that was a little bit unusual, but we felt we had an opportunity there to show our support as a WAC and as a PPAAA staff to encourage the purchase of that, that food vehicle. So we're really excited to see how that all plays out. So yeah. So really excited about that. But the contracts are underway, like I mentioned, and we do expect the July 1 start for programs. The initial federal deadline was allocation by September 30th, 2024, and we've hit that by well over a year. And we do expect most programs will actually see their funding needed by that time. However, the ultimate federal deadline is September 30th, 2026 for split. So it is very unusual to have more than one fiscal year there to if I fund. So really excited about that. Some of you may have been hearing that the Older Americans Act is coming up for reauthorization. It does come up for reauthorization about every 4 to 5 years. That was last authorized in January of 2020. And so that process is underway. We do expect it to be reauthorized probably in 2025. And so I'll be watching more around that. But the more crucial bit of information related to the reauthorization is a regulations review. And so we're right now under a notice of proposed rulemaking for the Older Americans Act regulations. Reauthorization, like I mentioned, happens every 4 or 5 years. That's just an agreement at the federal level to continue the programs with the mandates and the funding. It doesn't usually change the funding, but it's just a reauthorization at the federal level to continue the programs. The really crucial thing is that the regulations, for all intents and purposes, have been the same since 1965. And so with tiny changes every time it's reauthorized. This is a far more in-depth proposed rulemaking. And so if you are interested in seeing what that might amount to, I haven't actually spoken with Jared about this, but I'm going to ask him to put this link on our website. But there is a 2-pager notice of proposed rulemaking document that will have, it's just a summary of the proposed updates to the Older Americans Act regulations, along with some key provisions and how to provide feedback. Our federal advocacy organization, U.S. Aging, which used to be called the National Association of Area Agencies of Aging, N4A, is now U.S. Aging. They will be going through this to provide some feedback as well. And so there is a way to get registered. There is a way to provide feedback to this. This is actually something that we've been working on at the state and federal level now for quite some time, as we've been required to look at our policies and procedures, because our state policies and procedures are an interpreted or an interpretation of the Older Americans Act, combining state law and requirements in it as well. And so there's already been feedback up to the administration on community living about proposals and changes and things that really came about during the time of COVID. And so we are hopeful that these will be heard, not just received. Excuse me. But really be an opportunity to clarify some changes. As you can imagine, we're at 50 plus years of Older Americans Act documents, and the world has changed. That's kind of obvious when you say it out loud, right? But the world has changed. Things have changed immensely in the last 3 years of how we provide services to our communities. And so there's just going to be a lot going on around this. As we receive information, we're happy to share this out as well. It's a 60-day proposed rulemaking, that opportunity for feedback. There is a way to register for a hearing later in June and July. But we're excited about this. this is about as excited as I get sometimes, but we are really excited about these proposed rulemakings. But it is quite a necessary part of what we do to ensure that our programs remain consistent and designed as possible. So I do want to also point out that the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging Ombudsman team, along with members of older justice networks within Colorado Springs and El Paso County, have been putting on several events in recognition of World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. Now, World Elder Abuse Awareness Day is actually recognized on June 15th every year. This year, they decided to take the presentations on the road. So they were in Calhoun, they were in Monument, in Colorado Springs. They'll have another one next week in Colorado Springs at our office. There was an attempt to do one at Fairplay, but it had to be changed. So be watching for that every year. It was a great opportunity for several organizations, members of the community, to come out to really talk about what is elder abuse and to raise awareness around it. Because sometimes we think it's physical abuse, and when you really get down to it, there's mental abuse, there's financial abuse, and so much more. So this was really an opportunity to have those conversations about that. Next week's get together at our office will include folks who are residents of long-term care communities. And so it'll be an expanded long-term care community residents. We'll really talk about elder abuse. So I wanted to share that because our board of directors issued a proclamation for board meeting this week. So really raising that awareness is crucial because, as you know, our board of directors is made up from elected officials from across all three counties. So knowing that your elected officials receive that information, are part of that proclamation is really crucial. It might ultimately serve as a gateway conversation to address issues within their community. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at Lisa and others and Ted from Cripple Creek, but really I'm talking to all of us here on the call today and across all three counties. This is an opportunity to talk about elder abuse and the time of COVID raised those much more publicly than they might have been in the past. But that doesn't change the fact that it's always been there. It's always an issue. It's always something we have to figure out how to support folks, how to bring them resources. I'll take a question. Sure. Oops, I'm not supposed to turn that on. Yes, happy to take a question.
Ombudsman's just in for long-term care, or are they also for hospitals? Because that's what we.
That's a good question. Yeah, ombudsman through the Old Americans Act are dedicated to long-term care. So nursing home, skilled care, assisted living.
So when the hospital, let's say, was
inappropriate consent.
Yeah, without any way home, without any medications.
Yeah, improper discharge ban.
In their homes, we are like at a.
Yeah. That is a tough one. I don't have a good answer to it. I hate that I don't. But finding support for that person, calling APS, I'll ask Eric if he wants to weigh in on that. Department of Human Services. The second one. Let's see, Eric.
Yeah.
Any comments? Any thoughts you want to share?
I think hospital situations are extremely difficult, and I know that what I've heard from professionals working within the hospital environment is that they're under tremendous pressure to get individuals moved out of the hospital that genuinely don't need to be there for some concrete medical reason. And so it's a unfortunately, it can become a cyclical situation where someone is being released and perhaps the supports aren't the best, but there isn't another option and they really don't belong where they are at the hospital. I think it also speaks to, you know, some of the reduction in overall long-term care facilities that we have, particularly in and around the El Paso County area. It's obviously in some of the smaller Parktel or some of the other counties, there haven't ever been a ton of options there, and I recognize that. Even in El Paso County, where we've had the luxury of having many facilities, even some of those have been shuttered over the last year or two, and that has created an additional stress on the remaining system to ensure people's needs are being met. What I would say is it's absolutely worth making a report to your local adult protective services agency. I realize that it varies a little bit from county to county, but big picture, if there's some sort of abuse or neglect or even self-neglect that's occurring, mandatory reporter requirements are to the law enforcement agency in that jurisdiction. But self-neglect, if it's a matter of choice and the individual is continuing to go back to an environment that is believed to be unsafe for them, that can go to the Adult Protective Service Agency directly. And then we often review those reports to try and see, is there something that we can potentially do? Does the individual meet the criteria to be able to be assisted? Law enforcement does the same when those reports are made to them. And right now, that's kind of the system that we have in place to try and handle those, recognizing that there are still gaps sometimes just because the need often exceeds the options that we have available.
Thank you, Eric. I do. You just keep it real brief, Cynthia, but yeah, you have a comment?
Too well, I'm sorry. Very quickly, there was a period of time where the ombudsman program was looking into expanding and working with home care. And so that was not too long ago. That was before you came to area agency meeting. And there was a push to work with some of the hospitals in that as well, because they are supposed to, as well as we had asked people about their needs. And I have been there in person when they make it sound like we're not going to let you go home unless your house is okay if I can come and see it. And that makes people say, no, I'm going home. I'm not going to come. So.
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I have heard too many stories of people being transferred to a hospital with no way home after whatever the initial diagnosis or the reason for transfer to hospital has been, so we have nowhere to go. So it's we have to put that with one of our challenges that we don't have strong sort of work. Ultimately, it does come back around to knowing what we can do. Maria.
Yeah, just real briefly too. I don't know if this is available up in Teller County, but a lot of hospitals have social workers. And I found this out through last year. Sometimes they can help get people at least a discharge plan, but sometimes they are inundated too. But every once in a while, they are able to help somebody get a discharge plan going.
All right. So, yeah, it is a big gap. Yeah. All right. So, the last thing I wanted to share is that I have the opportunity to be on several panels at the U.S. Aging Conference. That's our national AAA conference in July in Salt Lake City, and so really excited to be able to participate, not just go for loads of meetings. Also serve on the board of the U.S. Aging, so we'll be in a variety of board meetings before and after the conference, but really looking forward to that. And then also the state level, Colorado Commission on Aging will be hosting their September meeting in Colorado Springs. And so as we hear more details, date, time, location, those are open to the public. And so we'll share that as well. We'll actually the very last thing is in July, because of the U.S. Aging Conference. Those of you who are on the meeting with us today, if you are a provider, you'll probably see your next quarterly meeting dated for July 19th. We have moved that to July 26th, the following Wednesday, in order to have that since several of us. So be watching for that if you haven't already. So July 26th will be the next quarterly provider meeting. So if I have, if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those now. Otherwise, back to you, Madam Chair.
And that is, mentioning the awareness for senior abuse that will be in the office next week. What day and what time?
I will have to get back to you on that. I don't have that off the top of my head. Melissa, do you know? Melissa's been on the, okay, Melissa's going to double check that. Melissa has been helping with the planning team, so she can find it out. So, all right.
Comment I have is I get some email monthly from the Narrative on Aging, which is, she shook her head, so you know what I'm talking about. And they have a online training session on the 28th about dementia, and there was something else that was going to work in with the dementia. And yeah, I learned a lot by going to these, and plus the fact you can stay home and not have to travel. But there's also another one. I don't remember the name of the company now, but last month's was how to care for a person coming home from the hospital, as well as, you know, completely, it's extensive. And I'll try to let you know about those, because I think it's, for me, it's been valuable. Is there any further discussion? Okay.
We have that date, time, and it is open to the public, Melissa. It's just a closed resident meeting.
So this is focused on the resident council chair people who are in long-term care communities. I do think that the ombudsman would be okay with people from the community attending, but that would definitely be that you would be, you know, kind of sitting outside of that conversation. So the number one goal is to really be getting those individuals from long-term care who chair their resident councils. The ombudsman are really working to get them to come in to this meeting. So so a little bit of a closed meeting, but I think that you know, people could come listen into the conversation, but they would not be allowed to contribute or ask questions, participate in it. So it would just be an opportunity to listen.
Great, thank you. That's next Wednesday, the 28th, 9 o'clock.
Our next meeting is July 27th, so it's going to be a busy week. Very good. Is there any further discussion? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for hosting us.
Yes, a huge thank you to Ted and the staff. Thank you very much for allowing us to come in. rearrange and host us.